Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me as a speaker. So today will not be technical. So this is all about confidence because in the rise of AI, confidence will be a huge factor in this. And especially as women, we're currently going through an AI gap, right? And if we have that gap, we're going to have less women in leadership and and of course, we want to thrive. As AI is rising, there's always new technology coming out. There's also so many opportunities. And so today I'll be talking about the confidence in the age of AI, empowering women to thrive in the AI native workplace. And feel free to share in the chat, anything you learn, or if you have any questions, I'll do my best to make some time to have questions for everybody. So, the shift. AI is transforming how we work, right? From routine tasks to complex workflows, speed, scale, and efficiency redefine, right? We have tools and resources that can help us do that took months or even days before to do. Automation handles tasks. Machines analyze, process, optimize. Repetitive work equals less human time needed. Humans drive what matters most: innovation, creativity, big picture thinking, leadership, decision making, direction, empathy, inclusion, building cultures where everyone thrives. I think innovation is huge, when it comes to using AI. AI won't work unless we put a prompt, right? Or we tell it to do something. And so we have the power to create different things based on our experience, skills, and opportunities that can create a better world for everybody. So in the AI era, it's not humans versus machines. It's confidence powered humans steering what AI can't replace, right? I think this is so important because in the end, we're gonna want human connection, right? We're gonna want to, you know, have things that's humanized. And it's still this trend till today. If you look at social media, people want authenticity, people want things they can relate to. And so, I know sometimes we get scared when it comes to AI, but it's also important to embrace it and create something different. So, first and foremost, people are probably wondering what is the confidence gap? So, I currently have a book called Bridging the Confidence Gap. And part of the reason why I wrote that book was because there was a report from the World Economic Forum that mentioned gender parity would be achieved at the earliest in the year 2154. So that's a little under 130 years from now. And unfortunately, that's when I wrote the book, which was last summer. So as of today, it's delayed 4 more years. So 2158. And also having this gap in AI is going to contribute to that gender parity being achieved at a later date. And so this is why for me, it's important for women to embrace it, to learn from it, to find ways to innovate and create amazing things. And so, first and foremost, you're probably wondering what is the confidence gap? And so the confidence gap is a systematic difference in self-belief and visibility that holds women and underrepresented groups back despite having the skills, experience, and potential to lead. So a lot of us, all of us are more than capable out there to do something great. But what really stops us is how we see ourselves, right? We think we're not good enough. There's someone better out there. We think we need more, we need to learn more, we need to research more, but really you already have what it takes. And it really just is about connecting your self-belief and your skills together to create that confidence to move forward, to be innovative, to be the leader, to be the decision maker. And of course, there's deeper challenges in an AI native workplaces, bias, subtle overt barriers to recognition and advancement. I know as women, there's a lot of biases we still go through until today. Visibility barriers, skills unnoticed, voices unheard, work overlooked. I know, sometimes we're afraid to speak up or not show our work, or we feel like, our work speaks for ourselves, but it's important to be visible, to show up, to speak up, and share what you've done. Rapid change, constant upskilling demands amplify self-doubt. AI is changing all the time, right? Every day there's something new. But I think it's also for me, it's fun to learn these different new tools and different processes and updates to see what else can I create, what else can I innovate. And so the reality skills get you qualified, confidence determine if you're seen, heard, and promoted. So the shift needed, bridging the confidence gap is not just personal growth, it's structural equity in the future of work, right? There was also a report from, I think it was still the World Economic Forum that mentioned with the age of AI, what was once considered the soft skills are now the hard skills that we're going to need to learn, like resilience, confidence, leadership. And so this is why this topic is so important because in our everyday life, whether it's the workplace or in personal, confidence plays a huge role in that. So why confidence matters. So in AI native workplaces move fast. There's new tools, roles, expectations emerge constantly. Uncertainty is the norm, not the exception. Of course, with the rise of AI, we hear a lot of things like, oh, um, our jobs are going to be gone or our jobs are going to be replaced. Yes, there's some jobs that's going to be eliminated, but there's also going to be new jobs that's going to be created. And they mention by 2030, even with the, additional jobs minus the jobs being taken away, there's still a surplus, right? There's still a surplus of new jobs, new skills that we can learn utilizing AI. Skills open the door. Technical expertise gets you hired. Training ensures you can perform the role. Confidence keeps you in the room, speaking up in meetings, sharing bold ideas, not just safe ones. I know it's sometimes easier said than done. I've spoken to a lot of women where they're in meeting rooms and they have an idea but are afraid to put their hand up because, of course, we think our idea might sound stupid or no one would, take us seriously. But, you know, and this happens time and time again where the person beside them shared the same exact idea and got praised for it. So I never want you to not share your ideas. If you're in that meeting room, just share it, put your hand up. I would rather you share it and, even get rejected than not sharing it at all because we don't want to go through life wondering what if. Confidence also challenges biases and advocating for yourself. I think it's so important. You have to be your number one cheerleader, be an advocate for yourself because when you become an advocate for yourself, you advocate for others, right? This is not just about you. This is especially for women, other women who still feel invisible, who feel like they don't have a voice. This is why I put myself out all the time because I understand how difficult it can be sometimes to just, share an idea or put yourself out there. Confidence puts you at the table, taking leadership opportunities, being visible in decision-making spaces, owning your story, not waiting for permission. So this is why confidence plays a huge role, especially in the age of AI, as this new technology, keeps you know coming out in a rapid time. So in the age of AI, skills may get you noticed, but confidence ensures you are heard, respected, and trusted to lead. So, I'll share a little bit about how I started my journey. I started a podcast called The Tao of Self-Confidence about 10 years ago, and I've interviewed over 800 women on the topic of confidence. And this is why confidence is so important. You know, why our stories matter because we can relate to it. And so here's some of the things that I've learned. Over the years, I've had the privilege of interviewing more than 800 women leaders from across industries, backgrounds, and cultures through my podcasts. These conversations weren't just inspiring, they revealed powerful, recurring patterns about how real confidence is formed. So here's what I learned. Confidence is not innate, it's cultivated. Most of these leaders didn't start out confident. Many began their careers feeling like outsiders, second guessing themselves, or battling imposter syndrome. But they didn't wait for confidence to show up, they built it through action. So if you've ever felt that way, just share in the chat, that was me. I've also felt that way. I didn't feel like I was good enough. I would second guess every decision I made. Imposter syndrome is something I still deal with till today. They didn't have it all figured out. Confidence doesn't mean having every answer. It means being willing to take the next step even when you're unsure. These women took small intentional actions that led to visible results, and that progress gave them the proof they needed to believe in themselves more deeply. Taking action is so important, right? One of the strategies that I share in my book is called ready, fire, aim. You start before you're ready, you take action, and you course correct as you go. Because for so long, the first 5 years of my podcast, I didn't even know what I wanted to do with it. I didn't know how to monetize it. And I was in the ready, aim, fire mode. So I was trying to make sure it was perfect before I launched something, realizing I just was waiting. I just delayed myself 5 years because I was waiting for that perfect moment. And so when I switched it, that's when everything really started to blossom, right? I started getting speaking engagements. I've written 2 books for a major publisher. And just, it just opened up a lot of opportunities because I decided to take action. And whatever mistake I made, I just course corrected until I got it right. So, you don't always have to have everything figured out. You can have an idea and figure it out as you go. Habits and mindset shifts were game changers. They practiced reframing their inner dialogue, sought out mentors and allies, and gave themselves permission to fail forward. Each of them developed a personal toolkit, whether it was journaling, daily affirmations, visibility challenges, or leadership feedback that kept their confidence growing. Now you're at this event because you want support, you want to connect with people who understand what you go through and be part of a positive community, right? So this is one way of being able to have mindset shifts, right? Because you understand each other, what you've been through, what the struggles, and you can help each other out. And so having this community can go a long way. Representation was part of the fuel. Many shared how seeing other women, especially women of color in leadership roles, sparked something inside them. If she can do it, maybe I can too. That's why visibility and inclusion matter so much. Part of the reason why I do the work that I do is because, I moved from the Philippines to Toronto when I was 7. And, in the late 80s, early 90s, Toronto is a very multicultural city. You can have every cuisine in the world. We have so many different festivals in the summer, but that also wasn't represented in the media. So for me, I always felt like I wasn't good enough because I didn't look a certain way. And so for me, representation was important, especially being Asian. We've been taught that, we need to be in the background, never make any noise. We're seen as quiet and submissive. And I wanted to dismantle that and show women, that we're courageous, we're confident, we're leaders, that we're meant to do great things. So in short, these women these weren't women who waited to be confident, they chose confidence over and over again. So the takeaway is you don't have to wait until you feel ready. Confidence is something you build through choice, action, and self-trust. So I hope that helps you out. I know sometimes we feel like we have to over prepare everything to the point that we actually resist. And I just want you to be able to take action, right? Whether it's a right or wrong action, it's one step forward to your career, your destiny, your greatness. And the best part is you have a community that helps you be part of that journey. So here's some breakthroughs, right? Identifying and overcoming barriers. True breakthroughs happen when we confront the barriers within us and the barriers around us. So here's some internal barriers that you might be going through. Self-doubt, questioning your own skills even when qualified. How many of you have done that? I've done that plenty of times. Till this day I still do that, and it's something that I have to practice, as even though I may talk about confidence, I still go through many different challenges, right? Because I have a lot of unlearning to do and learning new things. But I've been able to take the things that I've learned and just learn to, I guess, overcome it a lot faster than before, right? So, we all go through it. Self-doubt is something that we normally go through, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I just want you to realize you're more than qualified to go out there and do something great. Imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is something else we go through, right? Believing you don't belong at the table, feeling you're not good enough, feeling there's someone better out there, or feeling like you're too old or you're too young. We all go through it, right? I remember when I was approached to write my first book, I almost said no to it because I didn't feel like I was the person to write a book about leadership of all things. I was just happy that I had a platform where I can share women's stories. And it wasn't until one of my mentors said, "You need to write this book." And she was right, especially when I talk about visibility and representation. If I said no to this book, then I'm just a huge hypocrite, right? And so I said yes, even if I had no clue what I was going to write about. I've never written a book at all at that time. I wrote my first book at the age of 40. And when I moved from the Philippines to Canada when I was 7, I actually had to take English classes because I couldn't even speak English properly. So, of course, a lot of those things, we think we're not good enough because of the past, what happened in the past, but really, you can make it happen. You can figure it out. And I realized that I'll figure this out. I'll make sure to make this happen because this is not just about me. This is everybody else. And sometimes I use imposter syndrome as something positive, right? I tell myself, you know, I feel this way because I'm growing, I'm taking it to the next level. So when you're growing, it's going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to have all these questions. So sometimes it's a sign that you're ready for the next step. Fear of failure, right? Holding back ideas to play it safe. I know failure is something that has been ingrained in our head as something like the end of all ends, especially when you go to school, you get an F. It's like, it's the worst thing that could ever happen. But failure is part of the journey, right? We're going to go through so much failure, especially in the world of AI and tech. Your greatest success will come from these failures. So I don't want you to hold back. I want you to realize that you're failing forward, you're being innovative, you're creating different things, new things that can really create a life-changing event for a lot of people. And failure is part of innovation. So I hope you're able to, see failure from a different perspective. And so how do you overcome internally? So reframe failure as feedback. I remember when I was in the Philippines, this is a story that I usually share with a lot of people, but I actually failed kindergarten for coloring outside the lines of a photo in the Philippines. So, I was given a photo to color and I couldn't color within the lines, and they gave me a brand new photo to color and it was still the same thing. And because of that, I failed kindergarten. I had to move to another school to redo kindergarten all over again just because I couldn't color within the lines of a photo. And that actually affected me until my adult life because I felt like everything I touched was an instant failure. So it wasn't until I went to a personal development seminar and I had to reframe that, right? Instead of thinking, I wasn't a failure, I was just, that was just for me a sign to color outside the lines, to do something different, to do something unconventional. And, if we had the proper personal development work when we were young, then we could see it that way. But, everything happens for a reason. So I hope sharing that story you can see failure is not final. It's feedback. It's just showing you what doesn't work. And if you see successful people out there, they went through so much failure to get to their success. So much failure. Um, you look at like a light bulb, right? 10,000 ways for a light bulb not to work. And they say 90% of the time you try to do something is not going to work, but that 10% that does work is going to um it's going to change 90% of the world. So, and I think a light bulb is a great example. And I'm sure each and every one of us owns a light bulb till this day. So imagine if Thomas Edison stopped at like the 1,000th time or 5,000th time, we wouldn't even have a light bulb today. Building daily confidence rituals. Small wins equals big shifts. I think this is something that's so needed in our journeys is celebrating small wins because a lot of us feel like we have to celebrate when we hit the big win, which is far from the truth. It's doing also celebrating the little things, the little wins, because every time you celebrate the win, no matter how big or small it is, you're attracting more wins in your life. It's helping you build confidence as you go. And you just feel a lot better. So if you're in the chat, feel free to share what are some of your wins today. It doesn't matter how big or small. Even if it means just waking up, that's totally fine because there's people out there who are maybe struggling and waking up could be the hardest thing they ever do. So, share all those wins. Claim achievements, don't minimize them. Especially as women, we've been taught to never brag, don't show, be humble, but it's really important to claim them and share them and make a big deal out of it because these achievements aren't just your achievements, they're everybody else. Especially as women, we don't share enough achievements. And for me, when I share my achievements out there, I'm just not sharing my own achievements, I'm sharing it for all of us because we're breaking barriers, we're opening more opportunities, we're creating more seats at the table, and we're changing the course of history. This is how we can start lessening the years till gender parity is achieved, of course. And so if you have any achievements that you have, feel free to share it in the chat. We'll celebrate it. I think it's so important. And you'd be surprised, who might be able to whose life might change just because you were able to claim that achievement and share it out. So external barriers, bias, unequal treatment, unconscious stereotypes. As women, we go through so much, whether it's in the workplace, in society, in your culture. There's just so many things. We could definitely go on over an hour just talking about the different types of biases. Lack of visibility, work done but not recognized, right? Being Asian, my family's always taught me that if you work hard, your work speaks for itself. Just work hard, put your head down, and you'll succeed in work. Unfortunately, that's not the case. You're just because you're a hard worker, sometimes you're only seen as a hard worker. So you have to learn to work hard and work smart. Put yourself out there, be visible, create relationships, learn to network. because that's how you can get recognized, being seen instead of having your work speak for yourself. Gatekeeping, limited access to network, sponsorship, or leadership roles, right? Sometimes there's people out there who will block you from those opportunities. And unfortunately, sometimes it's the women at the top who might block those access. So, this is really important because we don't want to gatekeep, especially with the current situations that we're in. We want to bring everybody up, right? Um, to help each other out. And so how do we overcome this? Seek allies and sponsors, not just mentors. So, a lot of people don't realize, yes, having a mentor is great, but having a sponsor is just as important. Someone who will put you in that seat, who will advocate for you, who will put you in those opportunities is also just as important. Use visibility strategies like speaking in meetings, publish, present, share on social media, write articles. Just showing up can be the biggest thing that most people can notice. Challenge bias through confidence, not silence. So these are some of the things you can use. And so the breakthrough mindset is confidence grows when you confront both inner voices and external barriers with courage, visibility, and support. So it's important to claim when it comes to visibility and voice, claim your space in digital and tech workplaces. Don't wait to be invited. Step forward with presence. I think this is so important, especially as women. Don't be afraid to make the first move, right? Don't be afraid to be the go-getter. 90% of the opportunities I have wouldn't have happened if I didn't make the first move. If I didn't reach out to someone or apply for something. I said if I wanted these opportunities, sometimes I had to knock on those doors or create my own doors. Even when I was approached to write my first book with a major publisher, the story was I had a book before that. It was a co-authored book, and someone from the publisher bought that book and asked me if I wanted to speak for one of their events. And so I did. And I spoke to all their employees, and someone that was higher up from there asked her to ask me if I wanted to work with them as an author. And this wouldn't have happened if I didn't reach out to the person asking, "Hey, I actually have a book. Would it be possible if you can purchase a copy? Part of the proceeds will go to this nonprofit." And 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 that's how it really started, right? And you'd be surprised, like the more you just take the initiative, what you could achieve, right? And as women, it's important to take initiative. We're not taught to do that too, right? We're just taught to wait for things to happen. But the more you keep waiting, nothing happens. So step forward with presence, be a go-getter, make that first move. Visibility equals credibility in AI native teams, right? Being visible builds credibility, builds trust, and it's so important. So for me, I actually love utilizing AI, just the different ways you can utilize it, just the endless possibilities that you could do with it. And the more I never really knew how to use AI. I was actually hesitant at first, but I understood that in order for us to move forward, to have more leaders, we need to embrace AI. So when I first started utilizing it, I didn't even know what a prompt was. But, I just played around with it, right? Checking out the different platforms to see what works like Copilot and things like that. And, it's fun. For me, it's fun. So the more you put yourself out there to be visible, builds credibility, builds trust, and you're seen as that go-to person or that leader. Build credibility to visibility, right? Share your wins and expertise openly. And when it comes to expertise, this is something I want to share with you because a lot of people think if you want to be an expert, you have to know every single thing. You don't have to. Being an expert is just learning a little bit more, knowing a little bit more than everybody else. That's it, just a little bit more. So whatever expertise you have, share it openly, whether it's in the workplace, in meetings, on social media. Make your contributions seen as well as valuable, right? So yes, not everyone's going to see what you've contributed to the workplace. So it's important to share that out in the meetings or to someone who's higher up to tell them, hey, because of this, I was able to make the company have a 25% increase in their profits, whatever it is, right? Make sure you share that out and see why it's so valuable because you are valuable. Speak with impact, not apology. Use confident, concise language. Replace I'm sorry, but with I believe or I recommend. And this is something that I have to personally also remember because Being in Asian culture, we say sorry a lot. We say sorry for every single thing. And then living in Canada, being Canadian, we say sorry for every single thing. So it's like double the sorries. Like if I bump into a person, it's like, I'm so sorry, right? And it was by accident. So that's something I also have to learn with, knowing that instead of saying I'm sorry, having these replacing it with I believe or I recommend. So here's a framework that I want to share with you. I call this the visible framework, and it's a roadmap to strengthen your confidence and visibility. And I know some of you may be taking notes. I think I'll be able to send a copy of this whole presentation. So if the organizers would want that, I'll send that over. That's not a problem. But this is a roadmap that can strengthen your confidence and visibility. So if you see the word visibles on the side, so V is voice. Speak up with clarity and conviction, right? People will see your conviction when you speak up. And yes, it's scary when you first do it because it's something that you've never done before. But with practice comes progress and you become more and more confident. I'm going to share something with you that, when I first started doing all this, being visible and putting myself out there, I remember sharing my first blog ever. My first blog ever. I was so scared to share it. I was like overthinking it, thinking the worst of everything, thinking people are going to think I'm crazy and things like that. Um, so I finally shared it on Facebook. I shared my first blog post on Facebook, but one thing I did was I actually changed. So on Facebook, you can change the settings, right? The audience settings. So I changed it from public to just me. So, yeah, it's silly, but I had to start somewhere. So, just start somewhere, start small and build it up as you go. Identity, own your story, your culture, and perspectives as strengths, right? Each and every one of us has unique perspectives, stories and experience that we've gone through that we can share. That could be the solution. So I want you to own your story. A lot of us may feel like, well, I don't have a story to share, or my story isn't really important. Yes, it's very important. So I want you to own it because your story could help someone out there. Spotlight, step into opportunities that showcase your expertise, right? If you want that promotion, go for it, right? You have what it takes. You know you can get it done. And I know sometimes it's scary, but if you believe in your abilities, you will find a way to get it done. Inner work, build resilience by addressing self-doubt and imposter feelings. The inner work is so important because, people don't realize there's like the 80/20 rule, right? Um, 80% of your mindset will have 20% of your action. So everything is really about building a strong mindset, building, believing in yourself, learning to work with self-doubt and imposter syndrome because, there's days where we're not going to eliminate self-doubt and imposter feelings. It's going to creep up because we're human and we're always elevating as we go. But if we have the tools and resources to work through it, to embrace it, and move forward, then that becomes better. So, create a personal development plan that you have, right? Whether it's reading a book every day or listening to a podcast or surrounding yourself with great people, have the tools and resources to build that inner work so you become your best self. Belief, trust your skills, values, and right to lead. This is so important. I know you've probably heard time and time again, believe in yourself, and it may sound cheesy, but it is really important to have that belief in yourself because if you don't, how are you going to take action in the workplace, right? And believing in yourself meaning doesn't always mean you have to figure everything out. You just know you can do it regardless if you don't even know what you're going to do. Having that ready, fire, aim mindset, knowing that you're more than capable to get it out there. Leverage. Use networks, allies, and platforms to amplify your impact. You probably have a network of people that can connect you to the right person. Don't be afraid to ask, right? And even if you get rejected, that's okay. Sometimes rejection is no is not right now, or no could be a blessing in disguise. But utilize the networks that you have. Being in this event, this is your network already. Start utilizing it. Start making connections and exchanging info. So utilize that, right? You don't have to do everything yourself. It's better when we do it together. Elevation, lift yourself and others, creating a cycle of shared visibility. I think this is so important, being able to celebrate others, being able to share other people's achievements. It helps all of us, right? This is all about creating win-win situations. So I hope this visible framework helps you out. So visibility is not vanity, it's the pathway to leadership, influence, and equity in the AI native workplace. So, inclusive confidence. Confidence isn't just individual, it's cultural. A confident workplace is one where all voices are valued. Inclusion multiplies impact. People show up fully without fear of being dismissed or ignored. Confidence grows stronger when it's supported, not isolated. Living in Canada, it's very multicultural, and I think being able to live in a multicultural city, we get to learn from people's different cultures, different perspective, different ways to solve problems or different solutions. And I think this is so important. When women rise, organizations rise, right? Innovate more. Diverse, confident voices lead to new ideas, products, and solutions. Psychological safety encourages creativity and experimentation. I think this is so important. Having psychological safety in the workplace is so important because if we don't have that, we're not going to have we're not going to be productive. And when production's down, everything else falls down, especially profit margins, which is not good. Become more resilient. Teams with shared confidence recover faster from setbacks. Leaders model courage in uncertainty. Organizations adapt better. I think being resilient, persistent is so important. A lot of people are always looking for the secret to success or the key to success. And really, for me, after all the years that I've been doing this, is resilience is really important because when things fall apart or things go down or something bad happens, how do we move forward, despite of that, right? My great grandfather, when he started his own business, he had resilience as one of his values. And he had a motto, which was, we don't give up, we get better, right? We're going to go through these challenges for a reason, right? And sometimes we probably have to go through them to understand the problem so we can get to that solution. So I don't want you to think, why is this happening to me? Instead, think, what is the lesson that I'm going to learn from this? So I hope that kind of helps out. Build equity into future of work. Confidence building reduces systematic barriers. Women and underrepresented groups don't just participate, they shape the AI native workplace. So confidence is contagious. When organizations create cultures that nurture it, they don't just empower individuals, they future-proof themselves. So here's some key takeaways. Confidence is as critical as skills in AI native teams. Skills may get you hired, but confidence determines whether you are heard, seen, and trusted. In fast-changing environments, confidence enables adaptability, risk-taking, and leadership. Number two, break through internal and external leadership barriers. Internal is self-doubt, imposter feelings, or fear of failure. External bias, lack of visibility, limited access to leadership spaces. Breakthroughs happen when both are addressed with courage and strategy. Use strategies to boost visibility and voice. So apply the visible framework, voice, identity, spotlight, inner work, belief, leverage, and elevation. Claim your space, build networks, and lead authentically. Visibility is not self-promotion, it's leadership in action. And the inclusive confidence equals resilient organizations. When confidence is nurtured collectively, innovation increases, teams become stronger, and equity drives the future of work. Empowering women and underrepresented groups benefits everyone. So confidence is not a soft skill, it is a future of work skill, the engine of leadership, equity, and innovation in the AI era. And so own your confidence, shape the AI-driven future on your terms. And if you would like to connect with me, here's my barcode where you can connect with me on all my social medias. I have tools and resources as well in my website and other things that you can check out. But I hope this kind of helped you out. This kind of gave you something different to see, realize your own confidence, your own capabilities. It's been really awesome to be here and be one of the speakers because I know sometimes sometimes when I go into a technical conference, I feel like, oh, I need to be very technical, but sometimes this is the content that you need to move forward and be innovative in an AI driven workspace. So I'm going to stop sharing and see if there's any questions that anybody has. Feel free to connect with me. I'll also leave my link here if you want to connect. But yeah, if we have we have about 10 minutes. If anybody has
Thank
any
you very
questions,
much, Sheena. Thank you very
no.
much. Very
Oh,
insightful.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Yes, absolutely. I